It's the final meeting of the 2016 FF2M Championship, and it comes to you at a brand new venue, Portimao, located in southern Portugal. A driver's favourite with fast corners and elevation aplenty, and it looks quite pretty as well with the Portuguese hills in the background. The situation coming into this race, well, Alessandro Farina leads the championship with 82 points from Väinö Kimminen and Nolan Bryant close behind. Now, both were on 79 points coming into this event, but why Väinö Kimminen has 81 points should give you a good clue as to who has taken pole position for this meeting. We'll get onto that later on. A quick recap of the previous race. The feature at Monza was won by Caterina Caracciola, and this sprint was won by Daniel Kvyat. That was his first victory of the season, as was OLM Hulk Racing's. So, as mentioned, there is the look at the circuit, and it is 4.653 kilometres long, expecting 37 laps in the feature race. The FF2M race that will take place a little bit later on will be 67 laps, and the sprint race will be 15 laps, and mandatory pit window laps 14 to 24. And as usual, there'll be a mixture of soft and hard tyres being run in the two races coming up. So, as mentioned earlier on, Väinö Kimminen took pole position for this race ahead of Pierre Gasly, a much better effort from the Frenchman in recent times. And it's Magnum Force making it two in the top three, Oliver Rowland third and Kamui Kobayashi fourth, and Cristobal Alvarez fifth ahead of championship leader Alessandro Farina. Nikita Mazepin doing quite well up in seventh, ahead of another Russian, Daniel Kvyat, the Monza sprint race winner in 8th, Pascal Wehrlein 9th ahead of Esteban Ocon in 10th, then Monza winner Caterina Caracciola starts 11th ahead of Artem Markelov in 12th, then we got Mason Taylor 13th ahead of Pietro Fittipaldi, that's higher than he's been in recent times. 15th is Mattia Alfonsi ahead of Benjamin Pryor. Then Nolan Bryant way down in 17th, that's not good for his championship prospects. He's ahead of Louis Delatraz in 18th. Charlotte Plectrum in 19th ahead of Luca Giotto in 20th, and then the back row filled up by Naoki Yamamoto and the returning Nicholas Latifi. He replaced Sam Bird during the season, and Sam himself yet to score a point in FF2M in his return, but anyway, let's concentrate on this meeting for now. So 5 lights are on, and 5 lights go out. Who gets the best start? Looked like a very good start from Pierre Gasly from second on the grid, and he's already alongside Väinö Kimminen down this straight, going into the Primera curve, first corner, and is it going to be Pierre Gasly in the lead of the race? Turns right, contact, and lots of contact, and Gasly riding over Kimminen's front wheel, but somehow they both survive, and Gasly takes the lead of the race, and look at the traffic jam that's been built up there, as Gasly through Lagos corner, now through the exit of the fourth corner, and you can see blue-ringed hard tyres on board the Magnum Force driver, who, this is their last meeting. They'll be leaving at the end of the season, being replaced by either Monolith Racing Systems or Medsign 7 Racing, depending on how you look at that. But Magnum Force's final meeting, and it started off well, certainly for Gasly, although Rowland's had a bit of a poor start from 3rd down to 7th. Big gainers in that, Pascal Wehrlein and Artem Markelov, they're up to 3rd and 4th. Where did Markelov start? He was way down the order, and going well from so far. Now Kimminen, soft tyres on board the Gajera 2 as he slices his way up the inside and into the points, 8th place. And this is a good test to see how good the racing is at Portimao, because we'd never come here before. And fastest lap was Gasly, now it's Wehrlein, as down the main straight, Kimminen 2nd, that's good for his championship. Farina 8th, that's less good for his championship, as Rowland up the inside of Mazepin into the first corner, and taking 6th place is Ollie. Let's see close behind. We've got a bit of a traffic jam that developed already behind Nikita Mazepin, as we're on board with Cristobal Alvarez looking to make a move on a GRM Junior down the main straight into Primera curve. Turns right, it's a fast corner, and Alvarez up into 4th place past Artem Markelov, so that's a nice little move from the Uruguayan driver. Now where we're looking, this is approaching the end of the first sector into Torre VIP hairpin. 2 different hairpins on this, but we take the tighter variant with the harder braking zone because it offers a bit more overtaking opportunity. Nearly 3 wide between, is that Luca Giotto, an Esteban Ocon and an STV racing into Primera curve on lap 4. And now onto lap 5 goes Pierre Gasly, as we see exiting the final corner on board with, I think that's Farina we're on board with, as he looks to challenge Artem Markelov for 5th place. Indeed it is, down the main straight and into Primera curve. And Alessandro Farina takes 5th place off of Artem Markelov. And further back, Mason Taylor's making some good progress. He's up to 7th, ahead of Oliver Rowland. I'll be interested to see what sort of tyres Kimmonen's running, because he's managing to stay with Gasly at this stage, and Wehrlein not making much of an impression on Kimmonen. And it is Alvarez who is the fastest driver on the circuit at the moment. He had the fastest lap in the previous tour, as we look at Taylor taking 6th place off of Artem Markelov. Taylor, in all odds, will be staying in FF2M next season, whether it be in the upcoming Asia Series or maybe the Europe Series afterwards, who knows. But Taylor not looking to have an FF1M drive, it seems. Doesn't have enough experience. On board with Kobayashi as he looks to take Markelov for 7th into Torre VIP, and he has got that position. So now both Gajera 2s in the top 7, so good progress from Gajera 2, and they lead the team's championship by 15 points from Spaniel. And for them to win the team's championship, they need a 12-point buffer over Spaniel and to a certain extent Shake and Bake Jr., although Shake and Bake Jr.'s chances of the team's championship is very much outside, because 35 points available in a meeting, they are 32 points behind Gajera 2, and no Shake and Bake Jr. in the top 10 so far, as Latifi versus Luca Giotto into the first corner. That's a position gained, and look at Giotto under pressure now from the Shake and Bake Jr. Is that Yamamoto or is that Nolan Bryant? We'll never know as we go on board with Esteban Ocon as he chases Oliver Rowland for 8th place across the start-finish line, and looking to move into the points and make it to Willows Juniors in the top 8, and Ocon does indeed do that, as up to 10th goes Caracciola, and look at the tyres, she's on the hard tyres, so her qualifying effort really wasn't that good if that graphic is correct. As we go on board with Alfonsi, looking to challenge the other GRM junior, that would have to be Pietro Fittipaldi. Into 11th place goes Alfonsi. Now can he do Spaniel's team championship some good, as Caracciola now up to 9th place ahead of Oliver Rowland. I think there's yellow flags out because you see the circuit map in play on the top left-hand corner, which means there must have been some sort of incident. Now let's see, we're on board with Farina going through a left-hander in the 3rd sector into a long right-hand hairpin called Sagres. And from here it's flat out until Primera curve, with one more corner in between, the final one called Galp. Remember that name. Out of the final corner comes Alessandro Farina as he looks to challenge Cristobal Alvarez for 4th place. We're entering the pit stop phase now, and Farina really is on the move. He's really closed the gap ever since he broke into free air ahead of Taylor and Kobayashi and a few others. I think Artem Markelov was the cork in the bottle for Farina, but look at Farina go. He could win this race if it carries on like this. He's on the preferred soft tyres for the race. Now down a back straight into the Torre VIP corner. Now where are we? We're approaching Sagres corner now, as Farina looks to challenge Wehrlein for 3rd. Wehrlein could do with a good end to the season. It's not been the best for the Danish racing team, although Danish racing have had a win courtesy of Sam Bird. Have we got pit stops happening, or is that Kimmonen? It's Gasly into the pits. Race leader Pierre Gasly coming into the pits. Should see it on the top right, well, at the bottom of the graphic actually, as up the inside and moving up to 2nd place now goes Alessandro Farina. Farina's teammate due in the pits this lap. You can see the pit indicator is red as we look at Farina. That means your teammate's coming to the pits, and well, there it is, Kamui Kobayashi into the pits. As out of it goes Pierre Gasly in 5.1 seconds. Now, let's see what this pit exit's like. It's very, very slow, but in 7th place is Gasly ahead of Matteo Alfonsi. That's quite crucial actually, because Alfonsi could do some damage to Gasly's race and help his teammates, which Alfonsi didn't exactly do at Monza. He got in the way of Väinö Kimmonen a couple of times, and it actually cost Kimmonen the race win because they got themselves into a bit of bother at the Ascari corner with 6 laps to go, and the time loss meant that Kimmonen couldn't challenge Caracciola for the win. on board with the Willows of Alvarez. Willows Jr. of Alvarez moving up into 3rd place ahead of Pascal Wehrlein, and that's good confidence on the in-lap for Alvarez. I wonder where he'll be going next season. I think Joseph Willows has been fairly happy with him, certainly happier with Alvarez than with Esteban Ocon, but both are doing quite well in this race. As into the pits comes Väinö Kyminen from the race lead. Now let's see where he can rejoin. He was only a second behind Gasly before the pit stop sequence began. And the crucial part is, has he done a good in-lap to maintain, overcut Pierre Gasly for that matter? Well, it's a slower stop, 7/10 slower than Gasly. Now keep an eye out on the bottom and see where Gasly comes through. Is that Gasly or is that somebody else? I think that might have been somebody else. Is that Gasly coming through? Gasly's already gone through. And can Kyminen rejoin ahead of Alfonsi? That's a key one. I think he has done, so just in front of Mattia Alfonsi. Now, through Lagos corner, Kyminen needs to get his tyres into the right operating window and pull out a bit of a gap over Alfonsi, and he looks as if he's done just that. Now, Kyminen can chase after Gasly for 5th place, but effectively a net race lead. Whoa, Louis Delatraz getting well out of shape and spinning. There might have been contact between himself and... Is that Pietro Fittipaldi? Or, well, it's definitely a GRM Junior. So down in 20th, and yep, just tagging the back of, let's assume it's Pietro Fittipaldi, and taking an advantage of that. Well, is that lapping those two? Because Delatraz didn't even lose a position. Yeah, I think so. I think they're both way down the order. They've been lapped by an STV Racing somehow. As we look at Farina, who is going to come into the pits at the end of this lap, and he'll have lost a little bit of time compared to Gasly and Kyminen, but on fresher, softer tyres, he could still do this. He could still catch Kyminen and Gasly for the race win. We'll have to see how his final stint goes. Pietro Fittipaldi into the pits. So I think it was him who had that conflab with Louis Delatraz. That's a very slow stop for Farina, 9 seconds. Something must have gone a bit wrong with one of the wheel changes there. So that's not going to do Farina's chance much good as he exits the pits. Where's he rejoined? 4th place, but some lovely clear track for the Flower Man as he takes it slowly at turn 1 Primera corner, which I think that's what's actually supposed to happen on this variant of Portimao. So, just a few laps to go now. Gasly, 1.4 seconds now ahead. Is that Gasly putting a lap on Liquid Target round Sagres? Yeah, it is, and he'll have lost a bit of time through there. Now through Galp, Kyminen has got to do the same thing. Don't know if it's Giotto or Mazepin. Either way, Mazepin got in a... Well, let's assume it's Mazepin, but it could be Giotto. Either way, the Liquid Target definitely got in the way, and now Gasly really feeling it now. Alvarez closing, as is Farina. 6 laps to go now. Through the first couple of corners, now into Lagos. That's Portuguese for Lake. And now the right, which I'm not sure has a name, but it could do. Could call it Pedro Lamy corner or Thiago Montero curve. I know there's a Craig Jones corner, which comes after this one and the double right at Samsung. Named after a motorcyclist. Craig Jones corner. This is Samsung corner, the double right. Tricky corner. And now the first of the big dippers. Watch the track suddenly disappear as you go way down, and now into Craig Jones corner. Now the next double right, Portimao curve, and exiting that into the final sector effectively. Got a sweeping left, almost mirroring that of Craig Jones corner, now into a left-hand nearly hairpin, and now into an actual 180 degree right-hand corner, which gets more open as you go through the corner. Watch it open up. And now the flat-out blast through Galp. Pit entry on the right-hand side, an alternative variant on the right-hand side as well, but we take the more flowing flat-out version. And starting another lap, 5 laps to go, and the finish line a little bit further back than where I'd normally expect, and Gasly was actually a 10th quicker than Kyminen on that lap. Kyminen with 1 lap fresher tyres than Gasly, but they're both still being caught up by Cristobal Alvarez and Alessandro Farina. Gasly keeping a watching brief over Väinö Kyminen through Sagres corner. We're looking at Kyminen there in 2nd place. Does he have enough of a run on Gasly at this time around? I don't think so. Gap remaining pretty static. And we'll have to keep an eye out on if Alvarez is closing up to these two on this lap. And actually Gasly was quicker once again, and Alvarez much quicker than the pair of them. He took 6/10 out of those two, and Farina 1.2 seconds out of Pierre Gasly on that lap. So it's all closing up. The accordion closing up between these top four. Wehrlein looking comfortable in 5th, 2.9 seconds ahead of Kamui Kobayashi. And then the battle for 7th, Taylor, Ocon, Caracciola, still remaining in that order. Now, Kimnon looked a lot closer that time into Torre VIP, but not close enough, and Gasly not needing to defend on that time around. I think Farina has cleared the rogue liquid target. I think it might have been Nikita Mazepin that he had lapped just then. Yeah, Alvarez looking a lot closer to Kimmonen this time around. You can see visually the gap reducing, but Kimmonen quicker on this lap than Gasly. It looks a lot closer now. And could Kimmonen make his attack with 3 laps to go? We're approaching the end of 4 laps to go into the final sector. Once again goes Gasly, once again goes Kimmonen, and there is Alvarez closing up to the pair of them. Can Alvarez close off the season with a fine win for himself and Willows? It'll be his 3rd of the season. And the switch from STV Racing to Willows proving pretty good. As into the slipstream goes Väinö Kimmonen. 0.3 of a second the gap between the two as they cross the line. Gasly now needing to defend into the first corner, Primera corner. And this is going to give Kimmonen a pretty good run going into the Torre VIP corner, but look at Alvarez closing up on the pair of them. This is going to be a good climax to the final feature race of the season. Now, who is going to make the move? Is it going to be Kimmonen on Gasly, or is it going to be Alvarez on Kimmonen? Let's have a look into Torre VIP. Well, Gasly defending a little bit, and defending that one quite well from Kimmonen. But now the top 3, and now they're going to be the top 4 closing up, because look at Farina. 3.3 seconds as they started this lap, but Gasly defending has closed them all right up pretty much. And Ocon just edging a little bit closer towards Taylor for 7th place now. 0.7 the gap between those two. Now into Portimao curve. And Gasly still hanging on. There's more traffic in front. And decent traction for Gasly coming out of there. And Gasly took the first feature win of the season back at the Nürburgring, the very first meeting of the 2016 season. He could bookend that if he hangs on, but here comes Kimmonen. That's a much closer run this time. Stay behind through Galp. And now Gasly's in trouble because we're about to enter the penultimate lap, and here comes Kimmonen coming up alongside Gasly. Gap just 4/400ths of a second as they cross the line, but that's not relevant. What's more relevant is Kimmonen taking the lead into Primera corner on the penultimate lap. And now Gasly has got to watch himself for Cristobal Alvarez for 2nd place. But that could be a key move for Väinö Kimmonen in terms of the championship, because Farina 4th place, he'll lose the championship lead at this rate, but up the inside of Gasly goes Cristobal Alvarez into Torre VIP, and now Cristobal Alvarez can set off after Väinö Kimmonen for the race lead. I didn't see what tyres Alvarez is on. They are soft. The Red Ring soft tyres. Now, can Alvarez do something about Väinö Kimmonen on the final lap? Let's see the progress as we go through exiting Samsung into Craig Jones corner. And Kimmonen has got enough of a gap, but turning right. That was a bit wide from Alvarez, and that's going to put him back under pressure from Gasly if he's not careful. And further back, Taylor versus Ocon. That is still just 0.2 of a second. That was much closer between Taylor and Ocon. But now, through Sagres corner, that little mistake from Alvarez could have cost him a chance at the race win, but he's still pretty quick, and Alvarez does still have a shot if he can time it just right. But can Farina time his move on Gasly just right, going down the main straight for the final time now? Onto the final lap goes Kimmonen, Alvarez, Gasly, Farina, but it's now Farina Gasly, 3rd for the Flower Man as he goes into Primera corner. Kimmonen approaching some traffic in front of him. Now, Alvarez is closing up to him at this section, but is the traffic going to do something about it? Who is it in front of Kimmonen? is it the other Danish racing team of Nicholas Latifi? Well, into Torre VIP, it's not a Danish racing team, it is in fact a GRM Junior, and the GRM Junior letting Väinö Kimmonen pass at this part of the circuit. Is it going to balk Cristobal Alvarez? He is indeed. That's going to give Kimmonen the cushion that he needs. But now Alvarez slices up the inside at Samsung corner. Down the first big dipper into Craig Jones corner. And that GRM Junior kind of spoilt the race lead battle a little bit, because I suspect Alvarez could have caught up to Kimmonen had he had another lap in him, but we're into the final sector now, and just 3 more corners to go. That's one of them gone. 2 more to go. Sagres corner. And this is going to shape the championship very dramatically and be whittled down to a 2-horse race. Out the final corner, Galp corner, and we're going to have a new championship leader, and it's going to be that driver there, Väinö Kimmonen, who takes the final feature race win of the season. And with it, the championship lead going into the sprint race. And Alvarez comes home in second. Now, what happens here? Oliver Rowland versus... Is that... Oh, that's contact with the back of the GRM Junior, and spinning goes Oliver Rowland. So, that was the last bit of action on that final lap there. And there you can see Kimmonen takes the victory from Cristobal Alvarez, Alessandro Farina and Pierre Gasly 4th. And completing the top 8, it's as you pretty much were for most of the race. Pascal Wehrlein, Kamui Kobayashi, Mason Taylor, Esteban Ocon in 8th, and Caterina Caracciola not quite making it into the top 8. I think the poor performance in qualifying probably did something about that. But and Alessandro Farina taking the fastest lap in that race, so 14 points essentially for Väinö Kimmonen, puts him up to 93 points, and 7 points for Alessandro Farina, 89. So we are going to have a championship showdown between those 2 drivers. Difficult race for Nolan Bryant. Hard tyres in qualifying left him down in 17th place, and just didn't really have the pace on the softs. So he's out of it, unfortunately. And the team's championship, how is that looking? Well, 12 points on offer in the final sprint race. It's not yet decided. Gajera 2 have 123 points, Spaniel have 112. The gap just 11 points, so Spaniel can do it mathematically, but realistically that is much more of an ask. So that was the final feature race of the 2016 FF2M season. Just one more race to go, and both championships still up for grabs. Who will win? Will it be Väinö Kimmonen, or will it be Alessandro Farina? And will it be Gajera 2 or Spaniel Racing? Find out tomorrow.